Hi everyone, this is the PPUK Podcast, and with me today is Paddy, Lee, and Andy.
Hey.
And Leah couldn't make it for this one, but hopefully we'll see her soon. Today we'll be looking into Batman, one that I think is personally a little bit underrated. So, who wants to take this on?
Hang on, you're telling me I get to talk about two of my favourite things, Prince and Batman.
Okay, so Lee's going to be Lee, set us up, because you were into Batman before the...
Oh, yeah. I think I've talked about this on previous podcast episodes where Batman was me dipping my toe into Prince. I was on a school trip and the girl that I was interested in at the time was listening to Party Man on the coach, and I just remember her singing Black and White, Red and Green, and that was kind of me going, oh yeah, I'm gonna start listening to Prince, so it's just, stroke up the conversation kind of thing. And and then obviously it followed on. I got into it after, like Diamonds and Pearls. But yeah, no, I love the Batman soundtrack and the motion picture. Batman 89 or 1989 is definitely like my favorite Batman movie. Yes, I said that. But no, I love it. I do think it is an underrated album, and there's a lot of tracks. If you watch Batman the film and you see Jack Nicholson dancing to Party Man in the art gallery scene, you do not switch it over. You will watch that scene, and I absolutely love it. And some of the best bits in the movie is because it's got Prince playing, so I will fight anyone that disagrees with that. So yeah,
no fight here. This is, I think, you and me, Lee, I think, are in the same place where I think Paddy and Andy were already like pretty much Prince fans or steady Prince fans by the time this came out, and had expectations and everything. But
wow.
For
me, sorry, just gonna throw this in because it's like Batman was the first new album I got, having got into Prince. So I remember where I was when I heard the first. Well, it'd have been Bat Dance, I suppose. I can remember where I was when I heard Bat Dance for the first time. But yeah, I got into Prince in '88, and just obviously devoured the back catalogue up until that point. And Bat Dance was the first new album that came out, and it was very interesting for me because I'd started laying my foundations down with him as an artist, and then I got this album, and at the time, it was fascinating. And again, similar to Lee, I'm a huge comics fan, so these are two of my favorite things as well. And that summer was one hell of a summer.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine. Listening to this in retrospect, I listened to the singles because my brother was like a sci-fi geek, comic book geek. So he had, I think I've said this before on previous episodes, that he had the singles, like the 7-inch singles. So I knew the A side and the B side, and I just got really into, Batman, 200 Balloons, Party Man, Fill You Up, Arms of Orion, and I Love You and Me, because he was just buying anything that had a Batman logo on it, and it just so happens that the music was good as well. But it wasn't until later when I got into when I'd already been into a couple of albums deep into Prince that I decided to get that album, and I was quite surprised by the album. The Future was. I thought the singles were good, and I didn't know because The Future wasn't a single in the UK, but I was just like, "Wow, this is again like the same moment I had with Thunder of like goosebumps and everything." The Future did the same thing for me, and I was kind of wondering if it did the same thing for people who were into Prince beforehand.
I presume that's a Paddy and Andy question.
Well, Paddy or Andy,
Well, you're asking me to talk about one of my favourite things, and that's Prince, and the Batman element is fine. I'm not big into my superheroes. I prefer your more graphic novels and your Robert Crumbs and stuff. I've got some time for all of that. I really have. I just dissed Batman a bit more than I needed to. And I was excited about the film at the time. Batman the album, this whole project was the second one I was waiting for. Love Sexy was the one I was waiting for. So I was one ahead of you on that, Lee. And I know that your first one that you were waiting for was Symbol album, Shopes. We said this the other day.
Yeah. That's the first time I was actually waiting for an album to come out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what was the first time you were waiting for an album to come out, Lee?
Probably Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation.
No, a Prince.
Prince one.
Prince one.
Yeah.
Sorry, sorry,
Prince
wrong podcast.
Yeah, Prince podcast.
Oh my God, he didn't write Rhythm Nation, did he?
Probably.
You heard it here first.
There is a link.
Probably Symbol album or Diamonds and Pearls. Yeah.
All right, so that's the first one you're waiting for. Mine was Love Sexy, and then Love Sexy turned out to be a religious experience in most ways for most Prince fans and Prince himself, and then Batman came out, and I was absolutely whelmed. I thought it was not amazing, and I thought there was good stuff all over it, and I remember I remember going, this seems a bit simple compared to what's happened before. And this is the one where I start to go, I had to work a bit at it. Love Sexy I had to work at because it was so complex. And it took me a while to understand it, and it was amazing. And once it started opening up for me after about a week, I was gone. That's what turned me into a rabid Prince fan. Batman, I thought, it ain't all that. I didn't dislike it, but I'll say right now, before anybody dials off in discuss here, I think it has aged amazingly, and over the years, I think it is right at the very top of second tier Prince for me. It almost occupies its own tier. It's a fantastic album. I have nothing but love for this entire thing, but it didn't automatically sit right with me, and there's some good reasons for that, I think, that we'll hopefully talk about.
Andy, if you don't mind me asking, do you think it was too commercial at the time?
It wasn't that it was too commercial for me. I just felt like it. Well, okay, we'll get right onto these reasons. I think there's a lot of claustrophobia in the album. It's very tight. It's very airless. It doesn't sound. It doesn't really announce itself with that amazing fireworks of every Prince project up until that point. It seems more subdued. It seems darker, but it just seemed less inspired. It seemed simpler. It didn't have that cartoony breathlessness. And then it's a very different flavour. Over time, I've come more and more to appreciate that flavour and see. But it just felt a bit dull to me as a Prince project at first.
I know what you mean, but I think I look at it from a different slant. For me, it felt more focused because it was let's face it, it was a different cake for Prince. Was this? He was doing something that was had a big bunch of creativity that actually had nothing to do with him, and some legacy pop culture content and all that kind of thing. And I think I do get what you're saying though, and I think I just see it as here's an example of somebody who is using their massive skill and just put it into a box a little bit more. And
I love that in retrospect, and over time, I love that. That's one of the things that makes it so fascinating, is that Prince was harnessing his stuff for, to fit in with another vision, or just bouncing off that other vision. But here's the real kicker. I mean, Bat Dance is amazing. It's berserk, right?
That is.
Oh yeah.
By the way, none of this. This is, when I say a bit dull or a bit drab at the time, this is by Prince's standards. This is like nothing. Almost nothing on that album is normal, quote unquote. It's bizarre. It's fantastic. It's Prince still being bizarre, but but I will say, even though Bat Dance is a berserk and incredible, strange thing to put out as a single, there isn't a giant single on that album. There isn't a Kiss. There isn't an Alphabet Street. There isn't a When Doves Cry. There isn't a 1999. There isn't.
I think that's kind of unfair to Party Man.
I disagree strongly. I love Party Man, but it's not in the. Just look at where it is in the public consciousness. It's nowhere. That's what. There isn't a world-beating single on there.
I wouldn't say it's nowhere. I wouldn't say it's up there with Kiss or Doves Cry. That's fair, but like I think within like people who know the film or remember the film.
I've got to disagree with you. Not for the first time ever, Shanks, but Party Man doesn't sit. Party Man doesn't sit on any classic song list, and I'm outside of the Prince universe.
Whilst I absolutely love the song, and it's arguably the best. Well, the best is obviously a very is the weirdness that it is saying that, but yeah, I don't think it is a massive hit single in the consciousness in a way.
Right. It's not a major song in the culture, in the same. Certainly not something like Kiss or Raspberry Beret or Alphabet Street. And like,
that.
Oh, poor Chopin.
No, I'm not. I just think saying that there's nothing that's like a big hit. I think Party Man is.
Bat Dance. I don't know.
Yeah. I think
Bat Dance is incredible, but it was a gimmick song and an amazing one. No one else could have done anything like it.
Yeah.
But it was Bat Dance got to #1 in America and #2 over here because of the Batman hype. And because Prince just put on, I mean, it is a fireworks show. I just said there wasn't a fireworks show, but Bat Dance is the one. Bat Dance was a very clever, bizarre, kooky thing to throw at people. But again, no one's. I hate to say it, but it's the first album in a long run of albums in the 80s where there isn't an absolute titanic monster for the public.
On the premise that I always cite the true brilliant. I mean, in my opinion, the true brilliance sits from Dirty Mind to Love Sexy. So on that premise in my head, and that's just my opinion, obviously.
It's the correct
one. Batman
right?
just sits out. Batman just sits out of the fire. Yeah.
Well, I'm totally with you, Paddy. That's what I mean. I think it's the very top of tier 2. It's this album sounds very little like any Prince project before or after, and that's one of the reasons I love it. If it's got anything in common with another Prince album, it sounds like, in a great way, the kind of hangover from Love Sexy.
I think it's like, to be quite honest, it's like Dirty Mind on a budget, with a budget, with a good budget.
All right,
because it's him.
Child.
It's minimalist, and it's just him basically. It's him sitting in a room. By all accounts, from the end, like the interviews with the engineers, like interesting. You said claustrophobic because it was like the VHSs were coming in every day, and he was basically just sit there with a keyboard up there, a guitar at that arms, this microphone hung over the desk, and he was just basically making it there, not even using the live room. It was all done in the control room.
Yeah, and there's that famous clip, isn't there, of him playing the bass he's playing?
Oh, yeah.
Spider Man.
Stolen that from me already, Lee.
we all want to see.
I queued it up.
Although I think that's at Olympic Studios in London when he's on the tour, isn't it?
Doing the video mix.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It wasn't actually him making so it may be some overdubs for and that bass part never made it onto the 12-inch. So
yeah, no, it definitely did. It definitely did.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one on the dance mix.
I know the video mix, but I'm not sure that actual bass run is actually on there.
Do you know what? You may actually be right. I'll have to go back and listen.
When I listen to that video mix, it's everybody on the dance floor.
Then all those little, he was really into it this time.
If it is, he's mixed it really low.
But yeah, you may be right. Actually,
I'd say it is.
I love all those. We should all go back and listen after this. I love.
Yeah, that's actually worth a listen.
I love all those tumbling bits of artificial percussion he put on things around this time, though. In that, you've got as he's playing the bass, and then you've got it in Lemon Crush, it's like little bricks falling down a staircase in perfect syncopation. It's brilliant. But what does it go to? Oh, I forget. Do carry on. I
just have to have a second because Lemon Crush. Oh my god! love that song.
Oh, sorry, can I pull you up on it? Here's why it's not like Dirty Mind for me, right?
Okay,
Even though it's Prince, more or less alone, the arrangements are so busy, and like and you know that they're packed into that, and they're packed in a really interesting way, which is what the sound of the album's all about. In Dirty Mind, you've basically got a very traditional band setup played by one person, right?
Yeah.
And it's very sparse, and that's what that lends it all the new wave and punky feel and new wave punk funk. And then in Batman, he fills every available second, even though he's doing it all. He fills it with synths and effects and little samples that he's got Eric Leeds and the sounds of Blackness Orchestra, is that right? But he sampled those and just he won't let a minute. He won't.
And there's Claire Fisher strings sampled into it, but it's
so dense, and I love it for that. But that's why it's not like Dirty Mind in that respect.
But it's still but for me, it's still not. Obviously, I'm not saying it's exactly like Dirty Mind. It's still got that thing where it's that small room sound where there's, it's not got the massive reverbs that are, like.
It's a lot in a small space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's got those little details, but they just come in for the Future's got Claire Fisher strings, but it's like then cuts dead, and it's like
that's about the sparsest song on there, and that to me,
Lemon Crush is pretty sparse as well.
It's so busy in the second half, and like in a Love Sexy way, the album way, and
Love Sexy with half the tracks. I would say
it sounds like I'm dissing this album. I love this album. I feel like I got off on the wrong foot, but
no. It doesn't sound that way at all.
You're in a row. I'm listening. I like your perspective.
But again, coming back to all those, like what you just said, Chopin, about taking a Claire Fisher sample or taking an Eric Leeds or Sounds of Blackness sample. What I love about this album is that he doesn't allow any of those parts to breathe organically. Even though they're played on organic instruments, he turns them into little frozen artifacts that he inserts surgically into every track. There is no breathing space. That's what I mean by claustrophobic. There is no air in this album, and it's
there is a plastic quality to it. It's high quality plastic, but I know what you mean. It doesn't. It's not. I can't think of the right word.
It's the opposite album would be Around the World in a Day or Dirty Mind. And
it's not organic.
It's not, and like it feels to me like he's building this weird. That does mirror the kind of corrupt dystopia city gone wrong of Gotham that was that was about.
It's perfectly gets that.
Yeah, and it's. I should also. Sorry, I'll let someone else talk.
No. You're saying good stuff. Don't carry on.
The other thing that is very unfair about Batman, I'm sure we all know this reference. It's the Shaun of the Dead gag.
Oh, that's so unfair, but funny.
So unfair.
It's brilliant.
I know, but it's just like
it's still funny.
I can enjoy a good Prince gag, but it's just like. Oh, you really? Yeah, that is how the public feels about Batman, unfortunately, the album.
I think that's how the critics felt about it. That sounded more like a critic's response rather than a...
Simon Pegg's a fan, not a critic, isn't he?
I honestly think that the Batman album's one that sits in people's glove box from years ago. Well, I mean, I'm saying this to a limited degree because obviously there were sets back then, but I do feel it's one of those glove box albums which, isn't preeminent in their sort of... in their mind, like Purple Rain is, but you can just put it on and it's banging.
I just wonder if it's had a tail, if it's had a long life outside of the big Prince fan base. I just wonder.
Interesting. I can only say anecdotally that I've had people like, when they've talked to me about Prince and like who are not Prince fans, they're like, I've had quite a few people say, I bought that Batman album when the film was out and I loved that one. And there's been quite a few non-Prince fans and I haven't had them say, non-Prince fans don't tend to say that about some other ones. you know.
I guess it got a lot of people into Prince, or at least into that Prince project. And it's a very interesting album. It really is like nothing else he ever did. Do we all agree on that?
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like a palate cleanser between the two eras. I think. Like, I definitely see Batman and Graffiti Bridge as these kind of weird transitional albums.
Yeah, with Batman as this kind of this weird dense meat in the middle of them too. Yeah, like, it's such an interesting period to me. Like, the thing is, even though it didn't sound spectacular to me at first, it's like again, more and more over the years, I've just grown to appreciate how weird the music he was making at this point is. For me, this is Love Sex is the album where everything is banging at you from all sides of all corners of the spectrum. You know, it's coming at you from every last direction sonically. That's where it sort of peaks in that respect, and then Batman is where it starts to feel a bit kind of. It's the bum trip of Love Sexy. That's what I mean. The dark hangover side.
Yeah.
And again, these are all interesting things. And then after that, and then all the songs he's making around Love Sexy and Batman, all the outtakes, all the B-sides we're going to discuss and everything, none of them are anything other than utterly abnormal weirdness. But I think it starts to crack around Batman, and after that it falls.
I like Paddy's, comment about it being a glove box. I think with Prince fans, it's and they'll start playing it and they'll remember how good it is. I think similar to the movie and the album,
with Prince
fans, they've become cult classics within the Prince community and also outside the Prince community.
That's what I'm wondering about. Outside the Prince community, how popular that album was, or was it kind of just essentially another bit of merch for the film that was actually short-lived in the public consciousness? I don't know.
Well, this is the thing. I think over time, like fine wine, it's kind of matured. I think it's lifted out of this idea that it's entirely sort of symbiotic to the film.
Mm-hmm.
I would, in spite of what I said about my favorite period being that period, and I'd stick with that.
Yeah.
I would still, if you looked at all of his output and, a broad range of reasons why you would identify a good or the best aspects of certain albums, I would genuinely call Batman one of the classic Prince albums. If you had to talk about Batman in, say, 10 albums, I think you would, and that story going through from For You all the way to the end.
I would include it in that.
And when it kind of not at the end yet, in a sense. So, but I think Batman would have to be in that top 10.
It's in my top 10.
Yeah.
And it occupies, as I say, almost its own shelf.
It's in your top 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Oh yeah,
I would. That surprises me, but
correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it the third best-selling Prince album? I'm just trying to look out now.
Yeah,
because didn't this come up in a quiz? I don't know if it was one of your quizzes, Chopin, of Prince's best-selling albums.
Yeah, because
this no one even thought of Batman.
Well, I think it was Purple Rain, and Batman were the best-selling, but Diamonds and Pearls was the best-selling that wasn't attached to a film.
That sounds about right. I mean, but again, like but honestly, people bought it because of the Batman hype, even if they didn't like Prince necessarily at that time. And obviously, the album cover and most of the singles are like, they know how they're going to sell this thing, right? It's like it's just brand, and that's fine, and it's great.
Why my brother bought the 7 inches. I'm sure I think the only, I can believe that he bought Bat Dance and Purple and Party Man because he loved those songs, but the reason he bought Arms of Orion was because there was a Batman logo on the.
Well, Should we talk about the songs then? Because we put a lot of context in, and it's great.
Do you want to do track by track or
track by track?
Well, yeah, should we do track by track? Oh my goodness, how delightful!
It seems that. Let's see how.
Tell if he's being
I don't think I've done a track by track with you guys before, because we start talking about one thing and then we sort of end up going.
I know.
Do you remember
this
that
won't last very long.
Do you remember that riff he played at Camden Palace, Chopin, on that bootleg? So I am very intrigued to see if we can.
Why did you point at me when you said that?
Let's try and do a Prince, right, and be focused and get through this project just like Prince.
I'm already going to fall at the hurdle of the future. You can't do this to me.
The minute you said let's be like Prince and be focused, my first thought was like, yeah, but wasn't he?
We've already moved on to the next podcast episode.
Yeah, wasn't he working on Raven to the Joy Fantastic around this time? The first version.
This is going to go well, isn't it?
Okay,
so
think about the future.
The future. The first interesting curio there is the actor who played Moxie in Auf Wiedersehen, Pet, unless they dubbed over that quote, it's him who's playing the guy who's walled up in the film when he says,
what are you?
That's Moxie from Auf Wiedersehen, Pet. So that is a curious little thing that means absolutely nothing to the album other than the fact it's pretty much the first thing.
That's just a little bit of 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon, isn't it?
It is indeed.
His name, I believe, is Christopher Fairbank.
Yeah.
And he's listed in the credits.
I did not know any of that. I did not know that. I have not been reading my credits.
Yeah, he's the one that Batman dangles over and he says, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm Batman." Yeah.
I'll say that when I spun this record, what did I get it on CD? Probably at the time. Oh my god! I've got to give you a quick little story of I got Bat Dance on the 3-inch. Do you remember the 3-inch CD singles?
Yes, me too.
And I'd only heard the single version on the radio. I hadn't heard the extended before the album's out. And I got home and my adapter broke.
No!
And I spent an entire night trying to construct an adapter out of cardboard and cut it to size. And you can't do that, right? The thing about machine engineered tools like CD adapters is they're machine engineered, mass produced. You cannot do it. They have to be precise. You can't make one out of cardboard. And I think then I put it into the CD player and then it got stuck in the CD player. Then I thought, now I've screwed up my whole CD. Anyway, the CD player was all right, but I had to, at that point, I was so ravenous to hear an extra minute and a half of Bat Dance. So I wasn't unexcited. I spent an entire night trying to. We haven't talked about the future. Whoops. Okay, let's.
You were about to go on to 200 balloons on the CD, right? First track, we're already zipped onto a B-side.
I thought he was talking about his audition for Blue Peter, to be honest.
That was that audition.
No, the future. The future. Nice straight bar on the floor. It's sort of intro. It was the first live song I ever saw Prince play. I really quickly. Future obviously opened the new tour. New Tour was the first tour I ever went to, which I'm a bit gutted about because I wasn't quite into him fast enough to go to Love Sexy, which I'll take to my grave as a regret, to be honest. But anyway, never mind. So I went down to Birmingham NAC, queued for ages, got there really early. A few of us, about 50, 60 people got let into this little sort of cafe bit. I remember it vividly. I was there with 2 friends and I fucking heard him through the wall. His voice just happened. And he was doing the sound check, whatever. And the first thing that I heard coming out of the speakers was the Doves loop came on.
Wow.
So you can imagine how much that fucking blew me away. But anyway, we moved on. 7th row, tickets through one of those organizations back at Time Prince fans. 7th row on the left. Saw the little fella appear at the top. It was a completely heavenly sort of religious experience. Actually seeing him in the flesh because it was so sort of the whole mysterious thing. But yes, The Future was that song. It was a banging opener to a gig.
It was a monster.
Absolutely love it. Love it.
Loved the whole Nudes tour. Saw it about 7 times. Absolutely thought that was a brilliant opener. And on the record, that was not one of the songs that disappointed me, because I felt like I knew what I was doing with the future. It was very much in the vein of the skeletal songs like Sign of the Times or Doves or something. Loved that one off the bat. What I wanted, and what Prince doesn't give us because he's so brilliant, is a lot of he gives it to us once at the start. William Orbit gave it to us a few more times when he did
in the remix.
But
the remix is brilliant.
Don't you love Prince for just giving you that tease at the start and then never coming back to that? You've got to love him.
It makes you it was one of those songs that the minute it came to the end, I would often skip back to the front because I didn't think I appreciated it enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, like if I'd been distracted for a second by something, I would have to go, no, this song demands my entire attention, because
I would just
the future is just,
Plus, it was
so good.
A slightly different style of song to be enmeshed in like the Claire Fisher strings at the end, and they really are beautiful. They feel in just having them in some ways feels out of context for what that song is and the whole vibe and the finish of the film, but it fits beautifully in spite of that.
It's the dissonance that works.
But I also think the strings actually, because they're so orchestral and cinematic, and they relate to that Hollywood conjures in the pipeline. It's Hollywood gone. It's Hollywood gone wrong. And it's Hollywood gone in, fallen down the wrong wormhole, and that's what that song, makes me think of. Although I've just thought of that now, and it's giving me goosebumps. And
I love the guitars played in a run on the keyboard. That
and this is a lot of our conversations, aren't they, Chopin? And me and you going. But I also love that beat is fierce. Not just the beat, but the kind of that goes through it, like this industrial fan turning. It's such a warehousey, great Prince futuristic slice.
I'm sure it's flanges on the.
I don't know what it is, but I like it. I like that song a lot. I'm not such a fan of the William Orbit stuff. He's not my speed. I give the William Orbit remixes a spin here and there, and I do appreciate what they're doing, and they're going into a genre that is not my favorite type of thing, and I'm glad they're there. But I don't love them.
Oh, I know. See, I love them. Some days I love it better than the original. Sometimes I don't. It's the way it takes it, and like the delayed, like the What would
you call that William Orbit genre? Like sort of industrial house or something, or it's getting on for?
Well, this was first era William Orbit, like, because he came back later on. Like, he went away for a while. Apparently, what it was is he went and worked on an oil rig or something, got enough money to get some more to get Pro Tools, and then.
I had made a deal with the devil at the crossroads, or was that someone else?
That's what I mean. That's the legend of that. But at the time he does these remixes, Justify My Love remixes. So like, obviously he's in my another one of those people that's in my world from like Shep Pettibone, who's in my world from multiple different artists, and I loved his version and like his take on the future. Loved his take on Justify My Love.
I mean, he's taking Future and Electric Chair to a kind of warehousey club parties, isn't he? Really?
Yeah.
And I dig it, and I like my Prince when it comes to
it. The good thing about it is it's addition rather than subtraction, in the terms of it doesn't negate the original version. They're not famous enough to kind of negate the original version, and I think I spin them, and I really like a fresh take on Prince from time to time. Yeah.
I also, when we come to Bat Dance, I'd like to talk about those remixes as well. But I'm trying to do this in order and be a good boy. But I do. But I never quite get convinced by those remixes. Maybe.
The good thing about those remixes is they force us to go on to the next song.
Yeah,
Electric Chair.
Electric Chair.
Boom, 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 boom.
This was rock me at the time. I mean, this was my immediate first favourite track, just for the blunt force trauma of it. A kick drum and bass hitting at the same time is an orgasmic experience. banging track. I love the fact that it's kind of you could consider it sort of a guitar rockier track, but the guitar is like just little tiny bits dropped in here and there. It's actually reasonably sparse in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can love Electric Chair. It's
like it's a heavy guitar song, but it's not like Bambi or Peach or anything like that. It's a different kind of
Well, the
guitar
groove,
song.
The little groove lick.
Yeah.
That's like a light, almost completely clean and dry sort of sound.
I'm starting to wonder how much I didn't love the album at the time, because I can't imagine a time when I didn't like Electric Chair. I think as we talk through all these, I'll just go, I love that one as well. But Electric Chair is brilliant because it's an unclassifiable thing. It's Prince doing rock and funk and pop all at once, which is what he does, right? With a slight more emphasis on the rock than usual. But you couldn't really say it was a genre track because it's just Prince music, and that's the best music.
Would you consider the Future definable as well?
The Future to me is a kind of song structure that I'd heard before from Prince to some degree. It feels like one of his stripped down minimalist things that he had made his trademark with. I know it's not the same as, but it sounds to me like from the mold of Sign of the Times, Kiss and Doves or something. It's like it's kind of like, it's kind of one of those. It's not the same, but it's like that's a kind of Prince specialty by that point. Electric Chair is just like Electric Chair is, as with all the best Prince stuff, bizarre. What is it? Just what is it really? It's that kick.
It's that kick and bass breakdown with that boom, 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 boom. Bum 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 bum, and then comes back into
that always. To this day, that breakdown in Electric Chair. I can never follow the logic of that breakdown. It always surprises me where the music comes back in, and I've lost the beat. And it doesn't make it bad. It just makes it like I cannot follow Prince's mathematics on that bit.
It was because like at the time I didn't play any instruments or anything. What I used to do was dance to records. That was one bit that actually made a lot of sense from a dancer's point of view. It's like they were kind of, it felt good to dance to that. It felt so good to dance to that bit. It was like,
It's just when it comes back in, it always takes me by surprise. Like it's always half a beat away from where I thought it would be. I think there are interesting that Electric Chair was a very early song, wasn't it? Now that was from Dirty Mind type days. It was originally,
Really?
I believe so. I haven't. I'm pretty sure that they'll. Hopefully, we'll get to hear this at some point, but not on this podcast. Don't stay tuned for that, folks. Stay tuned for the sparkling repartee. But we haven't.
Basic tracking was done 6th of June, 1988.
Nothing before. No, hold on.
But that's the basic tracking of the version that was released. So that could be.
I heard that this was a song from much earlier originally.
Okay.
I'd like to say that as titles for songs go, what a title! Electric Chair is so Prince, and that ties in with Annie Christian. And so whether or not it was from those days, I don't know. But unfortunately, this has got some of the lousiest Prince lyrics in it ever for such a great song. Making us see a trippy picture shoe is terrible.
No.
It is.
Here's the thing. I think the reason, like, kind of, did anyone else have this when they were going through the album? Is like you'd heard the Batman, like you'd heard Bat Dance, and I was like, when if a man is considered to be guilty for what goes on in his man,
that's a great call.
Like, I know it's just like, that bit's from Batman, or that bit, that bit's from Bat Dance. It's like you'd heard a commercial for the album beforehand,
Yes, that was an amazing thing about Bat Dance. Once you got the album, you kept getting goosebumps and callbacks and flashbacks to other bits,
which was really good.
So the album immediately felt familiar to me because I did it so long. I'd listened to it so long after hearing like the 7-inch, and I still hadn't heard the 12-inch at the point that I heard the album. But it was a couple of years down the line when I actually ended up listening to the album. But the album sounded familiar because there's so much little call outs.
That's almost a precursor of when he, To Whom It May Concern for the
Yeah.
single album.
And Free the Music from Exodus. Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
And Diamonds and Pearls of like where the reference in the other tracks in the songs.
The raps, like
I'm just looking on Principle. I can't see anything saying that Electric Chair was as early as I heard it was, but maybe. I mean, they're pretty comprehensive usually. Here's a weird thought for you, right? That just suddenly hit me when the Sign SDE came out last year.
Yeah.
We were all totally immersed in the story of Prince breaking up the revolution, that whole narrative, moving on from Wendy and Lisa in particular, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's that it's obviously the story of that transition. Just suddenly think about Batman, and then flash back to Around the World in a Day or Parade, and how different do you want? It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, this is
it's like Wendy and Lisa never happened when you listen to Batman. That's not a diss on Wendy and Lisa.
No, and this is what I was. This is kind of what I was saying last time when we was talking about the special edition when we was going through the outtake tracks. Is Witness for the Prosecution was a perfect example. It's like the first version versus the second version. The second version is kind of like a precursor sonically to the kind of Batman Graffiti Bridge kind of production, and it shows you that as great as Wendy and Lisa were, and if they'd continued together, they would have still been at this amazing. But for himself, it's quite obvious he wants
to go streamlined. He wants to go linear. He wants to go dance, and he wants to go electronic and studio, doesn't he? And he wants to go horizontal on melodies rather than vertical with Wendy and Lisa, who are.
And I think about a Love Sexy with Wendy and Lisa. I think it would have been a completely different affair. I think it would have been weirdly enough a lot more tasteful and classic.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been. I'm not sure it would have been the spiritual marker that it was.
It certainly wouldn't have been the mad prophet with that hair at the Love Sexy gigs, telling it from the mountain. That's what Love Sexy was, telling it from the electrified mountain. You know. We're doing really well at keeping to the subject, aren't we? I want to say one more thing about...
Can't even keep to the album.
Kel, surprise. I want to say one more thing about Electric Chair, which is that the SNL performance of Electric Chair...
Yes.
You know, like, fire isn't a good enough word for what that performance is.
Yeah.
That performance starts off where fire stops.
That annoys the shit out of me, that's performance, because that's the only time he ever played it live that I'm aware of,
and it's brilliant.
And I'm like, why didn't you pull it out again? It surprises me a bit that the Future's never made an appearance in a set, because it's one of those that could sort of fit in most places. But
well, you know,
it would have been perfect. It would have been perfect for those sampler sets.
When you look at when we were all watching on Zoom a few months back, maybe last year, in fact. The Love Sexy concert. A bunch of us were watching Love Sexy on Zoom together. And it suddenly struck me how few songs he played beyond that tour. And then I started looking up when he played stuff, right? Again, on Principle, which is my favorite resource. And Prince very, very rarely played songs from albums beyond the tour they were promoting.
They usually had to be either hits or stuff he liked playing live.
Yeah, and but it's ridiculous. Stuff like I Wish You Heaven just basically wasn't played beyond Love Sexy.
Yeah.
The Future wasn't played beyond Batman, blah, 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 blah. And most songs fall into that category. Such a deep catalogue, and always interested in where he was at that time rather than where he'd come from.
It's... Well,
Electric Chair live is magnificent. It's such a tease.
Think about the way that you or I listen to these songs as well, and that Batman album is one of those ones that I probably won't listen to for a while, and then all of a sudden it'll be like I got to listen to that album intensely, and then it'll kind of fall by the wayside because there's 40 or 50 other albums to listen to, and then you've got other artists you've got to listen to. So it's
Judas.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? but it,
and then Batman a lot.
Then add to that from Prince's perspective all the songs that you don't even know. So from his point of view, of course, it's just going to be the most recent thing that he's released, and
it's just amazing. Like,
yeah, I mean,
other artists, most other artists would kill to have a scattering of the songs Prince wrote, and that would be a career. And Prince just goes, "Oh, that's it. That's it for Love Sexy. That's never getting played again. That's it for Wish You Haven't Done."
I always say this about the kind of Arabic live arrangement of Thieves in the Temple. Anybody else, that would have been a career highlight.
No,
for Prince, it's like barely even noticed. But for anybody else, that would have been a career highlight. That would have been like, oh, do you remember that performance where they went, like, and it was just like...
No. Are people saying, do you remember that performance, that duet, that second one with Sheena Easton?
Okay, all right, okay.
Beautifully here.
Okay.
On track.
Paddy's doing a grand job here.
Fantastic.
Right.
With that, Paddy can talk about this song first.
Oh no, that's so not fair.
Go on, Paddy has to talk about this song first. Arms of Orion.
Well, I've never particularly liked this song. Little bit too saccharine without depth for me. When it comes to Prince ballads, I have problems getting beyond most of his 80s ballads, if I'm honest. I know this was like 89, but I just think, I don't know. I'm not a massive fan.
His ballads or this song?
No, this song. That said, I have warmed to it a little bit over the years. I wouldn't skip it, but I don't know. For me personally, I just can't connect with it, and I don't know. I'm not sure why, but
I'm the same. It's, I think, my least favorite track on the album.
Myself and my keyboard player Paul, who I started in Dorothy Machine with, we both used to if there was like, oh well, I'm going to make you play Arms of Orion if you don't shut up type of joke thing, which is really, not. I shouldn't really be saying this on a Prince podcast, but yeah. I don't know. I just don't know what it is.
Next. Who's next on this one?
Go on, Andy.
I fucking love this song. Sorry.
Thank you.
Good lad.
Thank you.
I didn't know you liked this one, Chopes. I am amazed. I think I have not understood from day one why The Arms of Orion has such a bad rap. It is a beautiful song. It's the melody.
Stunning.
It's beautiful. The
imagery.
It's
poetic.
It's a lot better than making you see a trippy picture shoot.
True. Agree.
I'll tell you what. Well, actually, I remember reading when I read the track list. You know how you get track lists published in smash hits and stuff before the album was out, and you go, I wonder what that sounds like. In my head, The Arms of Orion. I constructed this thing where like Orion was this giant Batman monster, and this was going to be an absolutely banging song about like a Dr. Octopus type figure with arms, and then this thing comes out. I go, oh, it's this. All right. Anyway, I'd invented my whole mythology for this song just from the title, and it certainly wasn't that. I love it. I do not understand. People say, oh, it sounds like Disney. It sounds like a Disney ballad. By the way, Disney ballads are brilliant.
Yes.
But also, by the way, this sounds like one of the prettiest melodies he ever wrote, and it just works great. And the synth strings at the end are just beautiful. Everything on this song works for me beyond excellent, and I always
makes me think, I will say about the little breakdown at the end. I can sort of see, live. I can always see ballet dancers. So I don't mean this in a derogatory fashion, because obviously Prince's live presentation is wide and varied, and with a number of dancers. But I can see sort of a pirouetting, elegant, sort of European Swanish. Just like I can.
You used to do contemporary dance, so again,
I can just see that as you segue from Arms of Orion into something else. Were that to be,
I would happily plie to the end of this song.
It's a ridiculously pretty song, and I love it. You talk next, because I am amazed. I did not know.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I am not a big fan of the ballads. Really not. There's a few select ones. Usually, the filthier the better. weirdly enough, Do Me Baby is one that leaves me cold. Like that shows you the kind of level at which I am at with his ballads.
We've had long
absolutely
where I'm horrified with you, but
I know it's okay. It's a work in progress.
Did you ever
stay on target? Stay on target.
You convince me of a door is fine. Here's the bit. It's that bit where the lyrics, the arms of Orion, that's where I want to be. Since you've been gone, I've been searching for a lover in the sea of tranquility. I'm drowning without you here. It's just so beautiful. To me, that's like
I don't get it. When people say, "Oh, it's like," have they not heard things like "Girl" and other prettiness from Prince? It's like he does pretty stuff.
This pisses on Girl.
No, it doesn't.
Oh my God! No, Girl is kind of like.
Girl's amazing.
Girl's about 3 minutes too long.
Girl's about 20 minutes too short.
Okay, well, you listen to the full-length version. I'll listen to the edit. But but here's with this one. Like, you have made me so happy, Andy, because I thought you were going to rip it to shreds. But
not at all.
Like this one. Here's the thing. Like, I don't know, bringing it home, kind of personal attachment is the first constellation I ever got to identify was Orion, like Orion's belt. That's the first constellation. So there's always been like that kind of, when I look into the stars, the first thing I look at is Orion. The first thing I look for is Orion.
Is that where you want to be, Chopin?
That is where I want to be. I've always said, like, when people say, "Oh, are you going to haunt someone? Are you going to, like, if I do that, will you haunt me when I die?" I said, "No, I'm going to visit Orion." Usually, like, I'm like literally, I'm there. Like, I've got nothing left on, it's
Chopin's going to another life. How about you?
Yeah, I couldn't even stay on the same planet, let alone the same song. But topic wise, or planetary existence. But this, I think, lyrically, this is beautiful. It dances in a very in a beautiful, like the wording dances. It's completely underrated. I see it's one that's frequently slagged off in things. I look at that and I go, okay, I get it. And because there's ones that are frequently credited and loved that I think, nah.
It's funny because I think people just didn't like it because it was too straight down the line syrup. But when syrup is done so beautifully, it has its own place, and this is one of those songs for me. It's
just the words. The words bring something. He's done something melodically. Like, those words don't need anything else. They don't need anything more inventive because they are.
The melody.
They're a painting in themselves. It's kind of Joni Mitchell-esque.
I would say to all the haters on Arms of Orion, you go and write me a melody 1/10 as beautiful as that, and then maybe I'll listen to your complaint.
And words as
It's a wonderful song.
I never thought. I thought this would have been over in 10 seconds. Everybody going, "Oh, it's shit," and everybody telling me, "Oh," me going, "No, it's good."
I thought this was going to be me against.
Yeah.
Chopin.
It has grown on me. It has grown on me a little bit. But let's not spoil the party, man.
Hey!
Oh,
that was class.
I just want to go back. It's right. Just one thing. It was the anniversary. It's the anniversary of the movie, and it's been the anniversary of the album last couple of days ago. And I put up a meme of like the logo of the album or the movie, and I did the meme of Prince. Most people see movie, Prince fans see album, which is true. And I put on, what's your favourite track from the album? And no one said Arms of Orion.
Yeah, well, people, you can't trust people. And
well,
I've done a link for trust, which I didn't mean to. I'm scared.
Although I will say this, it's still not my favourite on the album.
It's not my favourite either.
It's that good.
It's that good, and it's not my favourite.
Back to my favourite
Thank you,
track.
Prince. So, Party Man. Oh my God. Can you even talk about this without talking about like the version on the album? Although, like the version on the 7-inch and that, I've since kind of find it so unsatisfactory because of that video mix with the when I need trombone, my dog is handy. But when I want sex, I call Candy. It's like this is one of those songs. There's a few of them where the album version no longer feels satisfactory because the 12-inch is so good. It's like America or Get Off or maybe even Let's Go Crazy. It's like one of those ones where the 12-inch is just so damn good, and it shows up that there are.
Yeah, it just feels like a lot of that stuff. Yeah, what you're basically saying is you just couldn't leave a lot of that stuff out. It feels slightly short-changing in a sense.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. The bass breakdown, the I Want Candy line, and the subsequent solo, and even the protracted, sort of slightly more protracted intro and what have you. I absolutely couldn't agree more. But generically, I think it's the best pop on there. It's less confusing than Bat Dance and less challenging than Bat Dance.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the most commercial track. I think it was one on the album that was credited to the Joker. The whole shtick of it is very shticky, but it's good shtick. It's a brilliantly written song.
What a great intro as well. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lauren?
Yeah, very good use of the film dialogue throughout the album for sure. I don't think it's. I love it. I love it, and I like the album version, and I love the video mix. Absolutely. But sorry, I don't feel dissatisfied when I listen to it in terms of flow on the album. To me, it's the right length on the album, in terms of flow. But this is one of those songs. It's commercial. It's shticky, like you say, Paddy. It doesn't go to the highest gear and become one for the people. It's a forced bit of excellence, but the more I've listened to it over the years, the more I've loved it. It's got so much.
I know what you mean. It was never this isn't a personal work, though, is it?
No, but
he has to. Not that I'm. Yeah, I'm not arguing with you because I know you're not arguing with me. But what I mean is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll show you not arguing. I will show you not arguing, son.
Are you dissing fucking Party Man?
The nail he needed to hammer on the head with this as a single in that genre is a nail which is struck.
Yeah, and the video itself.
The video is amazing. Love the video.
Yeah. It's. I don't think the song quite reaches the upper echelons. I think if you listen to on headphones, I think it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think.
On the dance floor.
I want to try and pick out one bit and explain why I like it so much, and I'm going to do it badly because I'm not great at talking about music technically, but it's that bit where I love it's one of those little breakdowns. I should have prepared this. It goes like boom, 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 and when it goes, do you know the little breakdown I'm talking about? Boom, boom, boom,
boom, boom, boom, boom, boom, boom, boom.
That's it. Yeah. That's exactly it. Boom, boom, boom.
No, I'm doing it.
Boom, boom, boom. I rock the body. I rock the house.
As he does that boom, 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 the bass note stays the same, and it's a brilliant detail. The bass note goes boom, boom, boom underneath that as the others descend, and it's just like, God, that's good composing and arranging.
Well, it's got lots of organic lean. I mean, you've got a double bass in a really, really. Again, another plastic, overproduced song. You've got brass lines which are played on the keyboard, which are weirdly slid like. And then you've just got that deadly bend off the sort of I don't know, it'd be G to a G sharp off the E. No. It's just it's a combination of things that sort of shouldn't work.
Yeah.
Even though we're saying it's not like
it's not top, but it's brilliant.
Top, but it's still fucking clever.
It's brilliant, and no one else could ever make anything like it because it's so Prince. So let's get to the video mix and that is.
Oh yeah. Can I just say something? Yeah. It's weirdly structurally. I could imagine, like, whereas before I said, like, I can't imagine Love Sexy with Wendy and Lisa and everything there. I could imagine the Revolution coming up with something like this.
I can't see it.
Like with the turnarounds, like this coming out of like a rehearsal jam.
To me,
structurally,
it sounds like the opposite of that to me. It sounds so stitched together with little bits of cleverness. It's all about studio for me. This one, definitely.
I would probably say it's probably closer to MPG, even because
I think
Michael
it's.
B's.
If it's a
Yeah, go on.
transitional album, it's the
No,
sound-
you're right, Lee. Like it's got that heavy drum hit, and it's got that like a Michael B kind of drum kick.
Not,
Yeah.
not, a,
Wait,
not a subtle song, but then the video mix is where it goes into cartoon land for sure.
yeah,
It's
And-
homage
look-
to the Adam West days of Batman as well.
This
It's
is
awesome.
one of those tracks as well. If they ever did a Batman Super Deluxe edition, I'd love to think that there were 4 or 5 versions of this song with all sorts of stuff thrown in there.
Isn't there an unreleased house mix as well somewhere?
Well,
Possibly.
I-
I know there's an unreleased kind of rap Batman mix, but I was pretty sure that there was.
I like the kind of mostly instrumental takes on the second 12-inch of this release.
Oh, the music mix.
The music mix and the Purple Party mix. I
Mix
really like
Purple
them.
Party.
Mix, yeah.
They are just Prince giving us off cuts in a really nicely assembled
I love
fashion. I really enjoy it. But sorry, Chopes.
There's this keyboard line on the music bit. There's that there, boom, bum 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 bum. That's just so good. Like,
And there's that synth flute line that's like, "Boo-doo-doo-doo,
Yeah.
boo-doo-doo-doo." It's but there's some weird stuff about the video mix. Firstly, I love, no one's mentioned this yet, but like Prince invents his own Batman character, Gemini. How weird is that? It's brilliant.
yes,
It's perfect.
Like Prince is kind of filming his own sort of alternate universe Batman movie with the Party Man video and the Bat Dance video, and you're just like, what are you on, Prince? I know what you're on. You're on Prince because you're Prince. It's brilliant.
he's turned Spooky Electric and Camille into Batman and the Joker.
And like he's just tripping off that, and like that video is so funny, so brilliant. The Weird Al Yankovic diss is really funny. One of the things that always amused me was that in the video mix, it goes out near the end when he goes, "You bastard! Look what you've done to my hair." And then,
yes.
but then they said they wanted him to censor that for the video, and so they turn it into "You big turd," which seems much ruder to me. They go on the video, on the actual video, not on the track, not on the 12-inch, but if you watch the video, they go, "You big turd!" Look what, and that just seems so much worse.
Yes, it's different. I thought it was just like they'd kind of done a mute that made it sound like that. But
I am
like
99.5% sure it says "You big turd," which is really unpleasant and funny.
That laughing at no, just trying to think.
I think we all want to go and listen to it now.
Yeah, like it's one of those things. It's such a good extended version, and that laughing. It's that bit at the end that when he does the laugh that oh hail the new king in town. Yeah,
And it's dark. It's so dark.
It goes dark at the end.
Everybody's dead. It's just like, whoa. Yeah, very, very dark.
Did the monkey die?
Yeah, like it was the psych or the bit with the banana.
And it's back to secret messages in the video. There's something. Is it like the Japanese that are written on his arm in the video? Like, I think it says, "With 6 you get eggnog," is one of the messages in the video. What does that mean?
Really?
Something like that.
Well, you've thrown me for a loop there.
I'd not heard that one.
All right. Hold on. Let me. I don't know where I'm getting this nonsense from today. I don't know what's wrong with
With 6 you get eggnog.
It was something like that, yeah. Or with 6 you get egg rolls or something. Maybe egg rolls. I can't remember.
Egg rolls was mix.
There's some really weird stuff hidden in that video.
I hope it's true. I hope that's the case.
Let's have a look. See if I can find this thing. You talk amongst yourself.
That's right, Paddy. So Lee,
yes.
Why is this your favourite? And
because it's like my favourite when I hear it at one of the parties. It's the video, the whole idea, like Andy said about him creating his own Batman character, and the music video is just it's just an awesome track. And I think it is the association of it's probably the first track that really, really did actually get me into Prince, remembering this girl singing, black and white man can breathe. So it's more of, I think it's the one I always say, "Oh, it's Diamonds and Pearls that got me into Prince." I'm pretty sure it's Party Man. It's definitely Party Man.
Is stepping stone into
yes.
Actually had a slightly longer life live than other songs, didn't it?
Which is weird because I don't think he's ever done it justice live.
Did he work it into Baby I'm a Star a lot beyond the Diamonds and Pearls, or from the Diamonds and Pearls tour onwards? I can't remember.
From Act 1, he was doing it as he was doing it with Loose. He was doing it Party Man and Loose. He did it on the new tour as one of the encores. 21 Nights. It was part of the live amps. He was doing it. 2014. He was, he even did it with Third Eye Girl when they were starting to do more hits.
I always sort of wanted to hear it with the heaviness. He tends to do the beat and the melody, and then the rest of it's a little bit sparse and spotty for me. I always wanted to hear the do and sort of bang it out, but it never happened.
He was more as funk jam type thing.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, it's a synth bassist's dream on record, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not keep Vicky waiting any longer.
He's good at this.
Or even keep Anna waiting.
Yeah. So Vicky waiting. One of the best treats for me ever was when I was listening to sort of live bootlegs and stuff, because the Japanese weren't that happy that he had dropped all of his hits and was playing an album that I can't remember whether it was actually out by then, the Gold Experience.
Was this 1996, the 96 Japan?
So he, all of a sudden he bangs Vicky Waiting out live, and my jaw hit the floor when I was listening to that for the first time. I'm like, holy shit. This sounds banging live. It's awesome.
It's really weird, and then because obviously it gets released in that version of it gets released in the Music Club as well. It was a great live version of it, but
Japan
this song,
96.
This song was just kind of, in other words, again, this was a time when I didn't have a huge reference of Prince. I had a couple of albums that I was in love with, but I didn't have like the kind of career spanning kind of For You, Prince, Dirty Mind, and Controversy were still yet to be listened to.
You were just a pamphlet back then. You weren't an encyclopedia show.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
Back then, and I was when I had this. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but this is another one that sounded completely. We've turned another, like after Party Man. This is just another mood that I'd not heard before. It just kind of like again quite dark.
How did you like it? How did it hit you?
It wasn't one of those immediate kind of I love this in the way that, say, like Party Man the Future, but it was like I stopped and listened. Like I wasn't dancing around to it, because usually my first reaction is quite physical, especially back then. But like it was a kind of okay, let's listen to.
It's more of a drive-by than a slap in the face, as Vicky Wade.
Yeah.
This is one of the best songs on the album for me. This is a better song for me than The Future or Party Man.
Good one.
This is proper serious, great songwriting with a psychological depth. I love it. I think the lyrics are great. They bring together some really. They bring together some real themes that are, inherent in the Batman story and in Prince's thing. The thing about what is it about? Whatever floats. Sometimes her body's there. Sometimes
it floats.
So, no,
whatever floats this Joker's boat.
No, just before that. Sometimes
all is well in Gotham City. The sound of terror is all you hear. Sometimes a pistol takes the place of her body.
Sometimes a pistol takes the place of her body. Sometimes her body's here is an amazing line.
Yeah.
Now that's great lyrics. That's great lyrics, and that does a lot of things in the Prince and Batman universe for me. But sorry.
Well, I mean, if you kind of outside of the Prince world and into the storyline, take that line and put it on Bruce Wayne watching his parents die. Sometimes the pistol takes the place of a body, and the psychology of the ricochet. It's great.
It's much bigger than that for me. It's about sex and violence and power dynamics, and that's all good Prince stuff. But it's like he's that it's got a universal kind of truth in it somewhere, and it's really good. But
I think the lyrics hit me. I think that when I say I was listening rather than dancing and stuff like that, I think you're right in that the lyrics hit me harder than the music on this one in the initial listens.
I think it's right in the sweet spot of a mid-tempo Prince number. It's so unrushed. It is like to me. I don't know. However, I can't speak for everybody because we've all got different bodies and legs and things. But this is my perfect walking along song. It's just like it's been written to me to be my pedestrian pace, and that's not a diss. It's just like absolutely. I remember years ago though. I had a flatmate who was a bit of a smart ass, and he thought he knew everything about everything, and then I played him some Prince, and he was very into very strange music, and he was amazed at how one of the things that hit him was how Prince's tempos were very uncompromising. Prince does stuff too slow sometimes for other artists. He doesn't rush it. When he's got something, he does it at whatever pace he likes. And Vicky Waiting for me is an example of Prince just going, this is where this song's going to sit, right in this spot. And it just is, to me, authoritative.
Yeah. It's like
always.
It is perfectly paced. He doesn't rush it. He doesn't drag it. It's just like bang on for me. It really kicks. But it doesn't kick. That's exactly the point. It just strolls. And the middle 8 section though is fantastic.
Well, the way I see that track is it's more of a comic book story in itself. And like you said, Andy, that you're walking, and out of the tracks from the album, this is it gives me an impression of Gotham City and walking around Gotham City. It has that.
I like it.
That
the way
vibe
that it
to
presents, you can sort of see the panels, can't you?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's really laid out. You're right.
If there was a music video, it would be like the comic book, turning the page and then.
That I'd like to see. Someone should do that.
There's a lot of sophistication and depth. There's a lot of sophistication and depth there. I think it's, as I say, I felt it was a bit of a grower, but I think it just goes to show if, again, the focus of what he was doing, the fact that it wasn't just the album, his next album, that he was driving to a point and had sort of been, given the job, entrusted. And the bottom line is, if you want a good soundtrack, who are you going to trust?
Yeah.
Hey.
Can I just say something before we get on to trust, though? Because that preemptive is.
He keeps trying.
Sorry. I'm just saying that it's interesting about thing about it being a grower, because the two other songs that are kind of in that same pace thingy and same kind of feel of it for me, whether you think they're as good or not as good or whatever, is Shy and Walk Don't Walk, and I find them in that same kind of plot.
You've said it.
Yeah.
Shy.
Yeah.
Oh hell
Shy,
yeah.
Shy and Walk Don't Walk. They're very similar in that kind of, they're pedestrian thingy, but they're kind of growers and there's a lot of interest. Shy, the guitar work on that is just.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's not a song I love, and Walk Don't Walk is definitely not a song I love, but I like that.
But it's the same pace, literally.
Yeah. But I think there's others too. I think
they don't grab you by the throat, but they draw. But I was drawn in by the ear.
But I think Prince sits brilliantly in that mid tempo. I think actually probably I Know is about the same tempo as well. There's a lot of songs that it's just like, hey man, I've got this all worked out, laid out, like you say, Lee, all panelled out. I'm Prince. Everything's going to fall in the right place at my speed.
Yeah.
Vicky Waiting does that, and I just really quickly want to say that middle 8 though, Talk of Children Still Frightens Me, is my character enough to be. That is brilliant, and the guitar details in that section are to die for. And I also sometimes enjoy hearing one that does. Is my character enough to be one that deserves a coffee made? Sometimes I think Russell Hobbs.
And the kind of weird dissonant harmonies is at the end of that bit where it's like, until then, she's held at bay by my animal-like persistence. Maybe this is where she wants to stay. The kind of the way his voice breaks, like he's trying to push his voice in a way that kind of breaks and cracks a little bit, even though it's not that stressful a line.
It's another unclassifiable slice of Prince, and I love that one.
But like Paddy says, you can trust you like that song.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Can I start this one off?
Go for it.
I know where this is going.
Probably my least favorite on the album.
Really? I did not know.
It's not a bad song, but
I'm shocked.
My kind of, I kind of like.
Wasn't this the replacement track for 200 Balloons, which was rejected for the scene?
I think so.
Well,
I think it's one of the ones that's got more film time. Sorry, Joe, go on.
That's all right. This is the one that should have been the B-side. The like 200 Balloons is much better than this song. But
I'd go with that. Yeah.
Lee looks visibly hurt by that. Please, Lee, express your pain.
No, it was just more of how it sits in the scene. I'm thinking more of the movie now. 200 Balloons obviously makes sense because it's the balloon scene with the Smilax gas in the balloons, but obviously Trust is the whole point of before the parade in Gotham. He talks about it being Joker and Batman and who do you trust, he'll be there, will Batman be there, and that's the whole. So I don't know if that was the reason why it was changed.
I think Trust has more energy for that scene, but I also think that it's an empty energy. It's a weak track on the album, and yet over time they've this whole album I love every track on it, and even Trust is a weak track comparatively.
Yeah, but it's still got some. It's kind of like Can't Stop This Feeling I Got. It's still got those great little bits in it.
I would take Trust over Can't Stop Graffiti Bridge version any day, because the Can't Stop Graffiti Bridge gets bogged down in extra details and sections that I don't think belong in the song. This doesn't try to be more than it is. It's just a 4 on the floor banger from start to finish. It's not even in his top 50 most inspired in this genre, but I like it just fine. I like the guitar. I like it's like a sort of somebody hijacked bluegrass or the blues or something and turned it into an electronic nightmare. I like it.
It's kind of like Prince does this kind of rockabilly thing, and sometimes it's really successful, like Sister or something like that, and then sometimes he does it like this, and it's okay. I mean, like I say, there's not a song I don't like on this album, but
me
the bit where it's like hot and close, dig it now, dun, 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 I kind of like it. It's like, but it's
there's a lot to enjoy. This is definitely one of the songs that sounded extremely thin to me when I got the album.
Very much. If you think of where they are on the album, it's very much sort of the yin to the Vicky Waiting yang. Vicky Waiting is a steady plodder with lots of depth. This is a up tempo, and it has a pitch change in the middle as well. It goes on, and it uses those mechanics to sort of lift and give itself more momentum. So it's well as the album track, if you like.
It works hard to convince, really, and I like it.
I'm the same as you. I really like it, but it's not like it's some massive stunning tune, and there are better ones on the album, but it is a great track as well.
But again, with everything in this period, even if it's not top notch, it's always interesting, and it's always sonically bizarre, and the details are always nobody else but Prince. It's so like this music, and I want to make a slight deviation out, but stuff like God Is Alive from this period, or just thereabouts, is like and that's one of the best songs he never released for me. But like God Is Alive is like the absolute apex of how weird he was at this time for me.
Yeah,
everything is wrong in just the right way, and Trust is not the apex of this, but it's still more interesting than 99% of other suckers out there for me.
Yeah, it sounds like it sounds comic booky, and that's kind of it fits. But it's kind of also why I weirdly can't engage with it in a completely.
I think I'd probably call this one a cheap and guilty pleasure. I like it.
It's one of my favourite scenes. The thing is, two of my favourite tracks on the album are like two of my favourite scenes in the movies. You know, Party Man and Joker in the gallery, and then Trust and Joker with the parade in Gotham. So I don't know if that's the reason why I like both these tracks so much, but and both of them highlight. And I suppose it's Jack Nicholson's performance as the Joker with these tracks as well. It's like his energy as well within both performances, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
A bigger part of the overall cadence is the attachment to the film and that synergy with the film.
Yeah.
I completely see that.
Yeah.
See, I won't get too much into it, but I mean, I didn't love the film, and I think I know. In a funny way, I think the album and the film both feel a bit moribund. Like to me, I could sum up that film in the way, and I don't mean to piss on anyone's parade here, but that's not a segue into parade. I'm not doing a Paddy. But like the way the Batmobile kind of lurches off in that film. I'm like, oh, this film's never quite getting off the ground. In a way, the Batman album. Lee's holding up a Batmobile. I mean, I'm talking to the wrong crowd, but
for those of you listening in black and white, Lee has a toy car.
I do kind of.
Lee has a Lego Batmobile in his hands.
There was something stilted and heavy and moribund about the movie, and I would also say that's true of the album. And in a way, the album it's what makes the album fascinating for me over time, and I haven't revisited the film often enough.
The best thing about this movie is it has the best Batman Bruce Wayne in it. The best Bruce Wayne in it, because he's weird and he's quirky, and
who is coming back.
You feel that, he's coming back, and you feel that in the album in a way.
Yeah.
Because it'd be interesting.
But I would say that both the film and the album are interesting messes, and I prefer the album.
Don't hang on for me to try and fit Lemon Crush into this, because I've thought about it and I have no idea. So I don't know how to segue.
That's very honest of you, Paddy. We appreciate that.
I was going to go with the line of "I'm crushed."
You've crushed my lemons on this one.
Crushed my lemons on this one.
I'm crushed that to some extent, Andy. You find the Batman movie a lemon. Okay. Hey, it's what I do. Lemon Crush. I want to come right out because this will break Chopin's heart. I think the weakest segment of the album is Trust to Lemon Crush, and I still like them both very much. But those are the two probably weakest tracks in some respect for me.
Okay. Look, I can't be too mad. You supported me on Arms of Orion, so.
You supported me on Arms of Orion.
Yeah, and I was I'm more surprised that you like Arms of Orion than fell flat on Lemon Crush. So
hey, it's all relative. I really enjoy both songs, but I find that like dun 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 dun, it to me, it's good, but it also sounds like okay, a Michael album filler track bass line. Whoa, that's all. But the second half of Lemon Crush sounds.
His vocal delivery on it is what I think. Is the way it's like it's not like if I listen to dun 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 on its own, it's so much more than those four notes.
It sounds quite like Bad, doesn't it? The bass line.
Well, dun 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 dun. I mean,
I think it sounded uninspired to me. I think you're right. His vocal is amazing. He delivers it with a really kind of really aching drawl. It's very sleazy.
He has this thing that like every now and again he does is use interchangeable words to make let's see if I can get this right out. He uses this kind of like lyric writing device. It's like he uses it in this and he uses it in some song like Color by the Steels, where you change out words for something else. It's like like where you say like Lemon Crush is interchangeable with Bittersweet.
Yeah. Oh, no,
like because like the lemon is a sharp lemony thing, but crush is like a soda, like an American soda is like a kind of crush. So a lemon crush is something that's bittersweet, and he does it the same like what's your color, and he uses the word color instead of judge. They're interchangeable in that song.
He translates things very poetically. Like for instance, that early lyric. Another example of this, I think, speaks to that is that. the early lyric of 1999 was, "I was tripping when I wrote this."
Oh, right.
And then he changes it to dreaming, and suddenly it becomes magical. Because
Yeah.
any mother can write tripping, but Prince is about something. Prince goes to a different code. He
It also makes it more universal and deeper, because if I was tripping was like, oh, and I was like, you know, like,
I know.
like, you know,
Not
either
relatable.
either you're angry or you're on drugs, you know, like one of those kind of things.
Or like nowadays, it's used very, you know, it's used all over the place, but it wasn't then. But it sounds like a hangover from the 60s as well.
Yeah.
But when he goes to dreaming, it turns it into something uniquely strange and warm and odd and alien and Prince. And I think you're right. Lemon Crush, he just uses it with no explanation and lets you riff off.
Yeah, because the most direct and more kind of lyrically kind of like, oh, it makes sense would be like, every time you kiss me bittersweet, now I can't resist being bittersweet. But you know,
agree more. It's what
every time
he translates things. And again, another brilliant example, which I might have talked about, is when in A Love Bazaar, who else turns one, two, into A, B, and suddenly it's like, oh my God, this is a playground, this song. It's
to the point where on the tour, it's like they know which song they're going to play by whether he says 1, 2, 3 or ABC. You know,
amazing, just amazing. So
amazing.
He's always translating things into a strange world of his own devices. So, like,
exactly.
Again, when I say this is one of the weaker songs on the album for me, it's weak within the most incredible,
setting.
world. Setting, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but Lemon Crush and The Future for me are two to me, those are probably my two kind of high points that I love the most. I mean, they're not the ones I listen to the most. I think they define this album for you somehow. Yeah, The Future and Lemon Crush conjure up the kind of deepest feeling and deepest moods.
I love the second half of this song. The second half of the song is very much in Love Sexy territory.
It's the bit where he's like that. Do me, baby. Dude, you know, that's her. Lemon Crush.
Suddenly, lots of weird digital artifacts are flying around all over the place, and little things are whooshing by, and you just go, I don't know where I am. I love that section.
and it's that bit that do that now. It's just, oh my God, there's so many little. Which is why I was saying that, like, kind of that bass that is not enough to describe this song, because there's so much detail in this song, but it's such a sparse sounding album.
There's a sort of argument to say that in a way this song sort of defines and cornerstones the album. In a way, that there's something about it which is kind of quirky but focused. It's very produced. I'm reaching. I've got in my head what I think here, but I'm struggling to articulate it. But there's something about Lemon Crush for me which sort of underlines the Batman album, and I'm a bit similar to Andy in a sense. I think it isn't necessarily the strongest song on the album at all, but there's definitely something about it.
I've got a weak spot for every song on this album, this one included. And I think, actually, Chopin, you've definitely crystallized something for me that I hadn't quite realized, which is the vocal performance is great on this song.
Yeah.
Like, the character he's playing emotionally is amazing.
It's, because it's kind of like a street slang approach to, like, you know, if I'm working at my job, I'm a victim. Yeah, it's kind of like an easy kind.
I know. You're right. It's just he draws it. That's the word.
I'm a victim.
He draws those verses a split second behind the beat, and there's something seedy about it.
Yeah,
in a great way.
If
I'm working, it's almost southern, isn't it?
Yeah.
At my job. Shades of Mick Jagger in there too. You've blown my mind. I'm liking Lemon Crush more than ever at this moment, and I did like it already. But...
And that breakdown like that breakdown at the end, where it's like,
God, I'd love to hear that. I'd suddenly love to hear the Stones.
Yeah.
Doing Lemon Crush, right? But like Let It Bleed era Stones doing If I'm working at my job, or Some Girls era Stones doing Lemon Crush would be excellent. God, that's a Fantasy Island request, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
you just
a scandalous idea.
Oh, yay!
Well played, sir.
I feel like this is going to become a thing now.
Well, this is
Future
an
albums.
interesting track. I'm going to come right out of the gate and say this is probably the best song on the album. It's magnificent.
I love it. Probably one of my favourite Prince ballads.
Lee, really? I did not expect that. Who knew?
Hey,
It's a monstrously good song. I'll let Lee talk.
go on.
No. I think one of my favourite Prince music videos of him just being Prince in red with the microphone, and that's it. I really like it. It's probably one of my favourite, and it's grown on me over the years. It wasn't one of my particular favourites, but I think it's grown on me.
This is a song that only a world-class artist can carry off.
Yes, agree.
It's such a heavy song to try and carry.
And the vocal range as well.
Yeah. And the density of the chords. This is the most quote-unquote musical song on here. It's a very, very sophisticated palette. It is like, I can't imagine many artists who could sing this song and convince.
For me, interestingly enough, this has, although again, not a massive ballad person, but for me, weirdly enough, this has the same issue as Party Man, in that after hearing the Scandalous Sex Suite, the song doesn't feel complete. There's so many like sections with that Scandalous Sex Suite with the guitars and the Kim Basinger lines.
Now,
it's
much as I love the Scandalous Sex Suite, and I do.
Yeah.
The version on Batman is a glorious world-class ballad. And it's really, really unusual as well. It is, and he, the colours of the video, Lee, and the colours of the outfit, absolutely, he knew exactly what emotional range he was hitting on this, and it's perfection. Actually, it's one of his best ever songs for me.
The one thing I will give him on this one, one of his best ever songs. Did you say?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I will say the thing that I will.
This is what happens if you drink whiskey out of a hip flask in the podcast. And I'll tell you what else, mate. I bloody love it, right? I bloody love
that scandal track.
That scandal
track.
For my money, Candlesticks is one of his best ever slow jams.
You're a step away from standing on top of your chair and saying, "You don't know me."
Exactly.
You kids don't know you're bald.
Exactly. With your get-offs and your kisses.
No. Honestly, I stand by it. This is a brilliant piece of mature songwriting by a world-class artist.
I'm in a funny position with this. Scandalous, I'm sort of, it's all right. But what Andy said about it, putting it that way, you can't. I don't think you can deny that another artist, something so sparse and so powerful, I don't think somebody else had carried off it. There is a stat. There is like the whole album. There's like a staggering confidence in his focused creativity, which this sort of epitomizes in a way.
Well, sorry, yes, yeah. I think it's funny. Again, it's a weird mixture of sparse and dense because the chord changes are so dense. It's like obviously most pop uses 3 or 4 notes in a chord at any given time, right? Usually 3. Prince was one of the people who helped change that landscape in the 80s. It was only, I think I read somewhere, maybe in one of Dwayne Tudell's studio books, somebody saying it was only really Prince and the Police who were pushing chords for a bit in the early 80s and finding augmenteds and blah, 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 and bringing that back into the palette of pop. The chords in Scandalous go to a different place again. They go to you sort of feel like some of them have about 14 notes in them. It's like the whole song is like pushing a rock uphill. It's that heavy. It's that good.
The interesting thing as well is kind of like I've never really thought about it before until you said it about the kind of the approach, and it takes someone like Prince to pull this song off, because it's the pause between the first the Come and Closer, that another artist would probably not have been confident with that much space between the two words. And also it took someone as kind of like self-confident, as bold-faced as Prince to like, I've got so much on the menu, I just can't wait. Like this is kind of like in the hands of like an R. Kelly is just like, oh, but in the hands of Prince is a kind of, it's a given that he's that guy. But it's like that Come Closer, like it's a big pause to leave.
It's an extraordinary song for me. I think it's funny that we've been talking about this is classic Prince as well. Oh, he was so focused. He was so, oh really? Was he? Why did he then suddenly go and smear honey all over the consoles and make an 18-minute version of this? Forget the Batman thing. This is just Prince on the front, no logo. I've just accidentally made an 18-minute mini album. I mean, how much do you love this man? Even when he's focused, he accidentally does that. Whoops.
Well, I mean, he's focused in the sense that while he's doing it, and he finishes it in that day, that's kind of a focused thing. But
I know.
But he's just very fast when he's focused.
Yeah. Prince's focus is not other people's focus. You're saying, I've made you this album. It's all about Batman. Oops, now it's not. Now it's 18 minutes of something totally different and an 8-minute B-side. Whoops.
Oh, that B-side is particularly amazing. Sex.
That's a tasty little fucker, isn't it?
Is that? Oh, again, we're switching tracks. Sorry. We can go to the B-sides after we've done Bat Dance.
Lee, I want to stand back a moment and give you a virtual high five, Lee, because I did not know that we felt the same way about that song. Okay. I'm so pleased to hear that somebody here at least has class.
With Prince, he sells the sexiness of Prince within that song. Even for a heterosexual guy, I'd be like, hey.
Okay, really? Okay, we've gone somewhere else. You're now listening to Prince Podcast After Dark. Lee's about to make some.
I think I've been drinking your whiskey.
Yeah,
Lee's currently putting on a blonde Kim Basinger wig.
Hey, Lee.
Hey, Vicky's waiting.
Yeah. Wait. Lee, put down the honey. Put down the honey. But
put down the spoon.
Again, an amazing track. Paddy, what did you like with the Scandalous Sex Suite? That guitar work, on that lead, that guitar work is just so. I know, kind of that having that kind of guitarist head when listening to it. Because by the time I listened to this, I was playing and I was just like, "Ooh!" It was burning. Like the
it's
intensity
one of those
of it.
Places is a lot more comfortable. These kind of as we've alluded to, with a lot of sort of rich chordal stuff going on. He's very, very comfortable. He's one of those players who's got such a perfect ear for direction. You kind of can't go wrong with him and stuff like that.
I mean, it's a playground for him, isn't it? Playground. It's a wonderful thing. Scandalous, gosh, I'm going to have to spin Scandalous after this conversation again because it's just too good.
I'm going to have to dig out my Sex Suite DVD.
DVD.
My Sex Suite CD to listen to it because I haven't listened to it for a long time.
I think one way or another, we're all in for a very
sultry evening. Oh dear.
All right, let's get.
Although we might derail that with the next one.
Let's do it. This is all out. This is absolutely everything out on the floor with Bat Dance, isn't it? It's all out there.
It's those from the very first moment. Those guitar goes like bow 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 bow.
Bat Dance is an absolute freaking hoot of a song. It's a brilliant piece.
It's absolute schizophrenic genius. Is this?
Yeah,
schizophrenic genius.
It's production genius as well.
Yeah, in every way. And it has one of the most fucking kick-ass guitar solos.
Yes!
The nicest tone that he's ever fucking played.
And it has one of my favourite keyboard solos in it. That organ solo before the guitar. It's nothing and it's everything. It's brilliant.
Oh dear, we're all going to have to go and lie down in a dark room after we've got over this, I think.
Like Prince...
The Batcave. Hey!
Yeah.
During the 80s, and with Bat Dance being the last gasp of that for me, Prince found notes that no one else found. And that keyboard solo, and I agree with you, the guitar solo is monstrous, but just that little oh, I'm just going to touch that, and that in a way that no one ever really thought to do before. Well, okay, that's amazing. It's like, the Hot Thing, the organ solo he plays on Hot Thing on the Sign of the Times movie is another one of my favorite things. And he throws these things away. And if you keep throwing away moments of brilliance over a catalogue as deep as Prince, you're Prince, and no one else is. Yeah. It's like unbelievable.
The one of the things that blew my mind is when I was reading one of the studio, like a Prince in the Studio book, and it was that it was all done on tape, like sequences and samplers to tape. And one of the ways he triggered one of the bass lines was with a kick. So with that boom boom ba-dum boom boom ba-dum boom boom ba-dum boom da boom da. But if you hear there's only a kick at the start of the bass loop, and that's how and the kick is how he triggers the bass loop, whereas that kick. So it's that boom boom ba-dum boom boom ba-dum boom da boom da boom da boom da. And it's just like, oh, it's the kick drum sample. There's only a kick drum there. It's just like. It's just one of those kind of little production geek things that, away from kind of musicality, like just the cold techniques of it, it's just like, oh my God, that's how he did that.
Yeah, this is it's a unique single. It's clearly not, it's not a single that sits comfortably for the wider world after the phenomenon. Of course it's not, because it's a mental collage, but I think it's marvelous, really.
Could you say there's a song that sounds like it?
No, of course not.
No.
Not even close.
No.
Not at all.
I couldn't even think of one.
It truly is uncategorizable, and it has several different sort of genre artifacts within it. This kind of typifies the man in many, many ways.
Yeah.
Nobody else's head could work in such a way as to devise such evil genius as this. Never mind play subtle keyboard riff solos and then kick that guitar solo out and then completely alter the song to being just a repetitive funk jingle for a little bit with some more samples. It's just a preposterous genius.
And then who else would just think, oh, I'll slap a brand on that and make it a #1 hit in the States.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's the best con he ever pulled on anyone. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and to go from the kind of the serious musical intensity of that kind of intro and the guitar solos around the front, to then kind of relieve it with, "Hey, Doug, you want to stick the 7-inch in the computer?"
I have a little Google Home Mini, one of those little. Those little biscuity looking things that sits around. And I use it all the time because they're very useful. And you might have an Alexa one. I'll try not to say it. It will set it off. I had this recurring fantasy since the day I got this thing. Now, you know how you wake this thing up? You say, I won't say it because it will wake up. You go, "Hey," and then the name of that company, yeah?
Yeah.
Even to this day, I go, "Hey, let's stick the 7-inch in the computer." And the day that it comes out with ha 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 will be I will die happy. I do. I go, "Hey, here you go."
The way I see this track,
I've tried that, and mine just starts telling the shipping forecast. I don't get it.
The way I see this track, it's almost like no disrespect to him, but it's almost like a musical, a stage play with all the different elements. Even with the music video, it's almost like a stage performance, and it's a tribute to.
I think the thing I like about the first part of the video as well, it's very, very much him recording this album on his own. You have this sort of little, what would you call
interface.
it? A music interface area with just random walls with keyboards stuck in them and monitors, and then he jumps down and does his solo and all this kind of thing. It's perfect. Perfection, brilliance. I love it.
I would love one of those Batman logoed CD player things that he has in it.
I think the video feels like it feels like stepping inside Prince's head,
Yes.
It's like going into his brain. You don't really know where you are in that video. It's brilliant. I think the entire song is like Prince having a musical food fight with himself. I love it.
That's a good. I like that food fight. Yeah.
And in that sense, it's weirdly like for something that doesn't seem like a personal statement, it's weirdly as telling as Love Sexy is.
But that's exactly it's come up a few times tonight. People have said this isn't a personal album. With Prince, it was always personal.
Yeah.
Somebody give that job, because you've described it as a job as well, Paddy. Give that job to any other artist, and they won't make this. Prince answers the brief, but also starts absolutely sort of playing with himself, and he puts so much Prince into it. It's ridiculous. It's hilarious.
Well, remember the job was 2 songs as well, so this is a very Prince thing to have an album plus B-sides and 18-minute suite.
Exactly. Actually, what he says is brilliant. I've really identified with this, and now I've turned it into me, like I do everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best way of looking at it, I think.
It's an
but also imagine somebody so like self-focused, so talented, and also so ego-driven that they could turn the biggest summer blockbuster that year, probably for a couple of years previous as well, and make it about him.
Hey, let's face it as well.
And he's not even in the film.
Let's face it as well. We loved Love Sexy. It took me a while to get my head around Love Sexy, but when I did, it was like, holy shit, this is just like, whoa, epiphany shit. But his sales weren't as brilliant that time. This came along and happened, and it was kind of perfect. I think, what was it, second biggest seller, etc. So it did a damn good job as well, and it was. The thing is, although having said that, I don't think that was necessarily his intention, or for him, it was. I think it was more that he found. It was part of the Warner's family, so he was. He was, what's the word? He was around the movie, or he was around the right people. Then he had the inspiration, and then he was, asked to do it. I think it came about for all the right reasons, not as a moneymaker. I really, really don't think it is that. But nevertheless, it didn't do him any harm.
I think it's a perfect storm.
Perfect storm, yeah.
I think the reason it sold the way it did is because it had Batman slathered all over it, but that's not to the detriment of the album. It's just like it's a deeper project than it looks like at first glance in every way.
Yeah, it's not a cold, cynical cash grab thing like I'll do this because it'll line in with a summer smash. But
there's too much of Prince's perversity in it to make it.
Yeah.
For all that I've been saying that again, it was doing a job and it was focused. I'm not implying that he doesn't absolutely own it. I mean, by definition, that it's got his name on it. He owned it.
Yeah, but he tended to do that anyway with anything that he approached. Like even if somebody, like case in point is like with Kate Bush, is like like add a few bits on this track, and it's like suddenly it's just like, oh no, I'm just gonna tape over this.
Why don't we do it this way?
This way, completely like for what, make it one of my songs or whatever.
So I think all of these. Everything we're talking about now contributes to the kind of bizarre little kind of puzzle box that is this album. Really, it really does stand apart from all of his other work. Obviously, it's massively connected to it, but it stands just to one side or on its own little shelf. And I think it's just grown and grown in my estimation. It's so solid for me. Its flaws are part of it. Is it a fix or is it a bug? Really. Can we talk about the B-sides very quickly?
Can I, before we do that, can I just talk about the tension that builds up towards the very, very end of that? Yeah. After where the single version would have cut off, and there's that long stretch at the end. It's like the don't stop dancing, the way that the way that it runs on a vamp, that and it brings in it samples unreleased songs from Raven to the Joy Fantastic to we got the power, which is like one of my favorite unreleased songs, and it's the way that it references not only songs from the album but stuff he was working on at the time. That the way that these little musical ideas made themselves, made their way into it, and then just built this incredible tension. Before, have you ever heard of the healing power of love? This just like the ha 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 closes the album with stop.
Yeah, terrific.
Like, what a way to,
Sorry, go on.
What a way to stop, finish an album. Stop.
Yeah, it's not perfect. Sorry, Paddy, you were going to say.
No, I was going to go on a slightly. I feel a bit selfish saying this, but it does speak to the type of track. We have an arrangement of this, and this is something that to perform, I desperately want to perform Bat Dance because it's special in terms of sort of generating this as a live track is very special, and there's a certain amount of bits and pieces that we'd set because again for the people who've seen us and so on and so forth, we have certain samples that are that in my head the way I arrange them is the stuff that has to be there and the same, those little bits are the same, everybody plays and blah blah blah, but this song is a beautiful sort of recipe to try and work out how to do it live. And I've got my Black Cloud, and one day I'm going to play that in solo in the middle of this song. It's going to happen. Is your Black Cloud, just out of curiosity, is it the ESP? The ESP. I was going to say, did you get one of the Chinese ones or the ESP? But but it's I'd kill to. I mean, again, it's not like a horrific solo to play or anything. To get the right tone, that sort of overdriven, nasty tone. But the power of it, you hit your sample with like the clav. Is it clavs? I don't know, whatever that sound is. But as soon as you have like organic drums, it lifts and goes. It's amazing. Yeah.
If anyone skips this podcast, they're just going to literally hear us making different sounds during the podcast.
Sorry,
PPUK sings the albums.
You can make your own Batman assemblage, kids. By coming up this podcast and making the whole album yourself. I have a question about. You're right, Chopin. It's an amazing way to end an album is just to say stop. It's fantastic. I've always wondered, and I've never had it confirmed. Or does anyone know this? Is that a sample? Is that Michael Keaton saying stop?
It's a sample from the film. It's him saying stop to the Batmobile.
Batmobile, I was about to.
It's weird. It always sounds like Prince saying that to me, but it's not, is it? It actually sounds like Prince going stop, but it's not. Okay.
It's the best Batman so far saying that.
Yeah.
And
we said that twice.
It's definitely an amazing end to a bizarre.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure also it replaces Dance with the Devil.
Yeah, which is lugubrious.
If you think about, like, usually when he switches a song, it's like for like, but Dance with the Devil couldn't be any more different than this. Like
you've got to say it's a good switch.
Yeah. It bookends an album. To go from like The Future is a great opener and Bat Dance is a great closer.
I think it is. It's basically says, all right, that was a whole lot of mess. Let's even throw that in a blender and keep eating itself. Just keep digesting itself. We did it, guys. We got through the album.
Yay!
Track by track, more or less.
Okay, B-sides. 200 balloons.
I love 200.
I love it too.
Love it.
It's so. It shouldn't be as good as it is, but somehow it is. The absolute just sample frenzy, and not even just samples, but replayed things and themes coming in from other songs. It's all over Bat Dance. It's all over 200 Balloons. Rave to the Tour Fantastics in there.
Yeah.
It's just an absolute festival of nonsense. I love it. And and like
there's
a little bit of Cindy C in there near the end as well. A little callback to Cindy C.
Is it that don't.
Oh, is Le Grind is in there? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, of course. There's Le Grind, and there's a re-sung bit of Cindy C with changed lyrics and stuff. So it's just, again, this is a snapshot of all the many, many projects Prince had been doing around this time and in the year or two before. It's berserk.
I love that kind of megaphone style. I don't know if it's a rap or kind of rapped, half sing. Coming from the east.
This isn't even one of Prince's best B-sides, and it's got more musical ideas in it than most people's careers. It's insane.
Yeah. It's like,
this one I always describe as like my bonus ball B-side. It's not top notch, but I have such a soft spot for that monster of a track.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's so good. It's just too good, isn't it? Really,
it's just so good. It's dense. It's it's interesting. It's a perfect B-side for Bat Dance because it's one of the few things that's as dense and kind of crazy sounding.
It's like somebody took the kind of feel of Bat Dance and said, well, Prince did, and said, let's hammer this into something that just doesn't stop. Instead of just stopping and starting and being chopped up, let's try and reconstitute that in a just straight beat, a mechanical beat that just, it's not going to deviate. It's going to go from start to finish. You're going to see a through line on it in the way that you don't see the through line on Bat Dance.
I love the line that my funk's going to cut you so deep, it's going to touch your soul. Isn't like that bit at the end?
Oh God, my God, I don't think I've ever heard that line.
Cry, cry, cry. I love it when you moan. My funk is so deep, it's gonna touch your soul. I could be getting it wrong.
No. I think I know that. I know the line you mean. I've never worked out the lyrics to that. I love my funk is multi-layered.
Don't stop me now.
We literally are just singing the B-sides.
Oh my God, it's so good.
That's kind of what it's about, isn't it?
You think there's another aspect? I think there's another. I'm talking a bit more holistically now about the whole thing, but in a funny way. So he did the Black Album. He had his epiphany. He released Love Sexy. In a funny way, this album's a way that he can go cartoon dark.
Yeah.
With the excuse of the association with the film, because again, there is some real darkness in there thematically. It's good for that.
So maybe this is more like from what I said before. If you're comparing it to another album, maybe it's more Black Album than it is.
This is where Black Album and Love Sexy collide and make something new. It's
interesting thought. Yeah,
it is interesting. I think definitely the fact that he invents Gemini shows
and all that.
It fuses those two elements wrong.
It's the beauty of all those synergies. You've got, like you say, you've got this idea of Love Sexy and the Black Album, right? And a synergy. Gemini, you've got this idea of Batman Joker. It's almost as if it's
He's
made peace with those two things and kind of can put them together.
But also, you're right. But I think you're right, Paddy. It's like this one word that I would describe the whole Batman album is compressed, and you're right. It's like he takes the Black Album and he takes Love Sexy and he puts them in a car crusher, and you get this weird cube of metal, this dirty, ugly, crazy bit of dense metal, and that's the Batman album.
And again, perhaps he's even a step cleverer than all of us. It's not a cynical comeback. It's a safe excuse to stretch his dark muscle.
He's made
It looks like it's about Batman. It is all about Prince, as usual. I can't believe that I thought this was simplistic at the time. But it's interesting. Just talking about it with you guys now makes me realise that over the years, as you digest the whole context of his career before and after, Batman makes more and more sense.
Similarly though, Andy, you're not on your own. When it came out, I was I liked it, but I was nowhere near as impressed with it as I've become over the years. And of all the albums, well, it's the top few albums that we discuss in the band, particularly because when I met our original saxophone player Ian, he wasn't really into Prince, and he's now a big Prince fan. His missus is a big Prince fan, and we've often discussed like the Batman album, and it so much coverage, it draws you in. It's magnetic, and like I say, it's that fine wine. And I've got to be careful what I say in this respect, because I'm not dissing stuff that came after. Because irrespective of me probably being more of an 80s than a 90s guy, God, I love the 90s. God, I love the 90s, and so on. But it's as if, without being negative to work that came after the 80s, I think 80s Prince shines more the further you get away from Batman, as that was the tail end of that. And it just makes it shine even more and more and more, and it pulls you back to look at it.
I will say
it wasn't quite Lovesexy before, and it certainly wasn't what came after Graffiti Bridge. But the further you go chronologically, it pulls you back and pulls you back and pulls you back.
It's a real watershed moment for sure.
I think what it does is like it bookends nicely an era, because like from For You to Batman, he's like, this is someone that's finding themselves. From then on in, it's somebody, you know, like it's very much like the 90s stuff. As you know, I will say that the difference that I think that a lot of people pick up on 90s and 80s stuff, like 80s is the search, and 90s he knows who he is, and he's walking into these albums knowing himself a lot better
and more confident,
having a lot, well, if not having a lot less self-doubt.
Do you know?
I don't see it that way.
I agree. I think he loses himself a bit in the 90s and relies
really
and goes back to roots to rely on it, because he's a bit lost in the climate that's around him, and for some reason,
interesting.
He can't go to the places he used to go. And I think a lot of the reason he can't go to the places he used to go is because Wendy and Lisa aren't there. That's part of it. And I think Eric Leeds isn't there to the same amount of respect in some ways.
I'm much more on your side with this, Paddy. I mean, I was going to say pretty much exactly the same thing, and I think basically the musical landscape's changed, and you don't get to stay on the cutting edge of the zeitgeist for as long.
We've got to do this podcast, guys. We've got to do this
80s, 90s one, yeah.
Well, it's not the beauty of it is it's not an 80s v 90s, because we all love it all. But
it's like it's not like I'm sitting here going like, Parade is trash. It's like no, it's just like I have to say that stuff. I love it more.
I'd love to go there a little bit more pointedly, because I think Andy and myself are very much in the same camp over a lot of this, and it would be interesting to explore.
We'll definitely do it next time.
Explore how we see it. It would. Yeah.
Leah can be the judge.
Yeah, she can keep us all in order.
Okay, so Fill You Up would be the next B-side.
Monster track.
Love it.
Yeah. And I prefer this version to the like the 9 version.
I love them both in very different ways.
Yeah.
The 12-inch is, but again, a lesser artist speeds it up a bit. Prince keeps it right.
Yeah.
And by the way, a lesser artist doesn't even write it. We know that.
Yeah.
But no, it's absolutely. I mean, it's Camille. You're already going onto a win when it's Camille.
Just carrying off a song called "Fill You Up."
Yeah.
Who else could do that?
Could it be any more Prince? It's prime stuff. I mean, another artist would kill for that for a single, and for Prince, it's just a B-side.
If you put the four B-sides as a 112-inch EP, that would be a stunning EP.
Yes.
Right, if you think about it, 200 Balloons, Fill You Up, I Love You in Me, and Sex.
Yeah.
Like as a 4-track EP, that's a pretty stunning EP, and like from anybody else's point of view, especially at the time. But it's like, oh no, these are the 4 tracks I've chosen
This is Prince plus all the ones that don't get released. It's ridiculous. This guy, like I've said this many times before, but the more you know about Prince, the less you can believe it. It doesn't make any sense. He was actually too good for this world. It's brilliant.
Well, this is a guy where the Truth album and One Night Alone were throwaways.
Well, this is it.
Like, what the actual?
But like, seriously, this is a guy who's like, well, I'll give a love bazaar to Sheila because I've got enough for myself. Like, it's ridiculous. What do you think of I Love You in Me? I think it's amazing.
Oh, I Love You in Me is fantastic.
Yeah.
I love another one that's really weird that I was surprised to see this on the Gold Experience, like the Gold Tour, the European part of the Gold Tour. And it's really weird that at the first part, like the European part of the tour, he plays "I Love You in Me," and on the Japanese part of the tour, he plays Vicky waiting. You know, like he's obviously listening to the Batman album around that time to just pick those two things out.
Oh right, sorry, yeah.
Like off that same tour, he's picking two kind of obscurities from like the Batman era, and it's like,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Know that. He was very good at not playing stuff that was just quite on the cutting edge of raunchiness for the Japanese audiences.
Yeah.
So that he was always good about that, right? Yeah, I just think it's another absolute bonus as a Prince fan to have "I Love You" in Me, because if you didn't know it existed, you'd never invent it. You wouldn't know what you were missing.
And the harmonies on it, like, stunning.
Just crazy.
When we're making love, it's like surgery. It's an uncomfortable line, but it's also it's like weirdly a sexy song that could be easily be one of those kind of that's kind of odd. It takes a Prince to sell it.
It's a bit sore, isn't it, or something?
Yeah.
It's a bit weird.
The movie.
Yeah. It's a fairly unpleasant line, but it's a brilliant song, and you just go with it because Prince was a head case in the best way possible. Yeah, he was quite good, wasn't he, old Prince?
He was all right.
and then he was all right. And then Sex. Sex is a good song.
Oh yeah, that is that synth, that heavy synth bass line, that do 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 do. It's one of those kind of little motifs you can just listen to for ages. I can imagine, like, because there's video of him doing this in a sound check, and I think it was like for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And it was just like, I just remember there wasn't much going on stage in the video, but it's just like 30 minutes of them kind of banging out the groove. And it's just that in that way, it was just like, and it was like a nude tour rehearsal. And it was just like,
I like it again because it's very throwaway. It's like, I can't even really be bothered to make this 7-minute song proper. I'll do all the women and all the men in it.
Yeah.
And so he just goes like,
instead
of actually bringing women in into backing. But it's just like to me, it's like the perfect mix of lazy and industrious. I love it.
I love how the little motif is very similar to the rave, like that kind of rave into the joy fantastic motif. You got that you've got that dun 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 dun. You got that kind of little
nice little angular figure. It just sits on it for 7 minutes straight. Does not even give you one breakdown where it doesn't feature.
Yeah,
it's naughty, really. I like it.
And just when you think it's like, it's this track is kind of about to end its welcome type sort of things. Like, well, it's grooving along, it's getting nowhere, and that's
exactly.
That's when they kind of get up on the chair, baby.
Exactly.
Let me dance under your skirt. Yeah.
It goes nowhere and has a good time doing it. I like it.
Yeah.
Jeepers. I think we did it, guys. I think we
did it.
From that time.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure how that works, but like I'm definitely think a lot more of Batman now than I did beforehand, and I loved it.
Yeah, no, I'm the same.
I'm the same again. Yeah.
It's almost like Prince album therapy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like a catharsis you don't need.
Yeah.
Stop.